Leave it to Reuters to indirectly resurrect eco-extremist Dr. Paul Ehrlich's hysterical population bomb as the culprit behind the left's struggle to achieve so-called climate justice. That's what it is. That's the main reason. Reuters published an asinine climate doom-mongering story with a headline that needs no explanation. Climate justice gets harder as world population passes 8 billion. The article screeched that the overpopulated world signals more hardship for regions already facing resource scarcity due to climate change, not resource scarcity due to like Nestle stealing your water or anything. Despite the continual debunking of Ehrlich's boogeyman of an overpopulated world since the 1968 publication of his book, Reuters mindlessly paralleled Ehrlich's logic. Rapid population growth combined with climate change is likely to cause mass migration and conflict in coming decades, experts said. In his 1968 book, Dr. Paul Ehrlich predicted a population-led oblivion in the 70s that, of course, never materialized, an Armageddon scenario that he continued to push decades later, even when it was obviously not true. Ehrlich wrote in The Population Bomb, in the 1970s, the world will undergo famines. Hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. He added, our children will inherit a totally different world, a world in which the standards, politics, and economics of the 60s are dead. Good riddance, sellout boomers. Smithsonian Magazine even noted that Ehrlich's agitprop, that is agitation, propaganda, I think 90% of so-called news is agitprop. It is meant to agitate and propagandize people, sidebar, gave a huge jolt to the nascent environmental movement and fueled an anti-population growth crusade that led to human rights abuses around the world. Of course, Reuters made no attempt to distance itself from Ehrlich. They didn't have to, because Americans can't and don't read that, and the fact they never even mention him in the article at all. I will give you the link to it, the archive link. Climate justice gets harder as world population passes 8 billion, but it's a bug that they want you to eat. It's a feature. Humans could face a reproductive crisis as sperm count declines, study finds. Study published in the journal Human Reproduction Update, based on 153 estimates from men who were probably unaware of their fertility, suggests that the average sperm concentration fell between 1973 and 2018, a drop of 51.6%. Total sperm counts fell by 62.3% during the same period. Temporal trends in sperm count, a systematic review, and meta-regression analysis. So what do we do about this, James? Oh, I know. Let's ask joke thief Amy's cousin, Chucky. Schumer calls for amnesty for millions of illegal aliens living in the U.S. because, quote, we have a population that's not reproducing on its own. So it wasn't going real well in the first place anyway, but especially now maybe because Americans jab themselves with a weird gene agent. Maybe that's given some trouble to the reproduction. I saw that story, James, as I was prepping the show, saw it on the sidebar on Gateway Pundit. Again, everything we talk about is always included in the show notes. Speaking of Amy Schumer, I think this is all connected. It is all a rich tapestry. Amy Schumer's 3-year-old child has some weird respiratory virus. Amy Schumer's little son, Gene, 3, hospitalized with the rampant RSV virus. I'm sure it's nothing, James. Are they lying about a dark winter when it's really a demographic winter?
Yes, they are, James. Yes, exactly right. And exactly as myself and many other people have been warning for years and years and years and years now, it is not the overpopulation crisis. It is the underpopulation crisis. Episode 142 of the Corbett Report from August of 2010. So I've been talking about this for a very long time. And of course, events have only continued to underline that. And on the note of Ehrlich and the population doomongers and how they were wrong about everything, of course, again, you can turn to episode 339 of the Corbett Report, Meet Paul Ehrlich, Pseudoscience Charlatan, where I utterly eviscerate and show that everything that he predicted was stunningly incorrect, and yet he is still lauded as this great prophet of the age that never came. And you don't have to take it from the Corbett Report. I know I often cite my own work because that's why I do it, but you can take it from Roger Pilkey Jr. just had an extensive post up on his Substack, How the Myth of the Population Bomb Was Born, citing many of the same sources, talking about many of the same things, but going into some rigorous academic detail about how this pseudoscience charlatanry of the population crisis really came about. It's definitely worth your time if you're interested in the subject. If you're interested in the actual science behind what was referred to there in the true environmental crisis of our times, not carbon dioxide, not the fact that you're drinking it through plastic straws, but the fact that the human species is going extinct. This is really, we are watching it happen. We are seeing the plummeting sperm counts. And as this article notes that we're citing here, this new 2022 study is about some 2017 results that we knew about. But at the time, we didn't have all of the data, so we could only talk about Europe and North America and say that, yes, sperm rates are plunging in Europe and North America. But now they do the rest of the calculations, and guess what? Africa too, Asia too, everywhere around the world, sperm rates are plummeting. Fertility crisis is upon us. What does this mean? Where did this come from? How is it happening? One source that I would cite for this is the book Countdown by Shanna Swan, which I mentioned in my summer reading list last year, where she goes through the scientific history of this and the studies and how they were conducted and how we know what is happening and what is happening with these EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals that have absolutely flooded the planet as this plummet in sperm counts takes place. And also, towards the end of the book, she gets into what you can do to actually protect yourself, or at least limit your exposure to these EDCs. So definitely worth your time there. But here's what in a sense, what I like about this on its face, ridiculous anti-human propaganda from Reuters, attempting to link humans and the human population to the climate crisis. We can't save the Earth anymore. There's too many humans. Well, what's the answer? Kill some humans. Of course, this is what it is about. It is a death cult. And for people who do not understand, I am not joking when I say this is a religion. How about this from the Times of Israel? Activists smash tablets atop Mount Sinai to launch faith-based climate push. Yes, in a big PR stunt that was just took place outside of the COP27 there in Egypt, some activists went up to Mount Sinai with the 10 Green Commandments and smashed them as part of the, we're not living up to the climate religion, so we need to wake the leaders of the world up to what is going on. Absolute insanity, but I'm glad the mask is coming off. You cannot deny it anymore. This is a death cult. It is an anti-human death cult. It is a religion. People are now worshiping it, and you are going to be forced into this religion, like it or not. And unless we put the brakes on it now and stop swallowing their propaganda. Yes, there is an environmental crisis that is happening right now. It is threatening the human species as well as many, many other species. But you're not allowed to talk about that stuff, the EDCs and the GMOs and that kind of stuff. No, all we can talk about is carbon dioxide. And what is the answer to limiting carbon dioxide? Limiting the human population. Wow. Funny how that works out for the death cult, isn't it?
We are the carbon they want to reduce.
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.